Yeah, so I like Dubai. I like all its luxury items. You didn't ask me what I like about Dubai, so I just like to say I like these delivery boys who come and deliver, because that's the most luxurious thing that you can have, is you can get delivered cake at midnight and whatever else you want. So I think that's wonderful. It gives employment, and all of us can enjoy. So that's the great thing about Dubai. The slides are up already. Okay, so today we'll look at what is known as the international speech. We will look at what most of us do in a project basis, the 5 to 7 minute speech. We are not looking at a humorous speech, neither are we looking at an informative speech of that sort, but it is the international speech that you'd expect to reach to the US stage at some point. So I'd like to credentialize myself a little bit. I'm distinguished Toastmaster Alexander Tharayan, as introduced, but more than that, I've spent about 15 years in Toastmasters, and I have seen 2 people from this club go to the international stage, Sam Kodeh and Yusuf. I've been part of the mentoring team along with Heather and a few others. I've also learned as the process that good mentors do not make good speakers, and vice versa. So you'll never get to see me give a great speech, but probably you'll get me to criticize a great speech. And I'll do that pretty well so that you know where you stand. So I've also been had the honor of being in the group that mentored MJ, and she did a great job. I'll refer to her speech in between as well. So that's my cred. Like I said, we are covering the international speech to the extent possible. We're looking at your everyday 5 to 7 minute speech. I'd like to quote Mark Twain a little bit here, because Mark Twain is a great US novelist, writer. He said, the shorter the speech, the more difficult and tough it is. So we know the 2-minute speech issues it, but we also know the 5 to 7 minute speech is really a short speech. The good speakers in the world give 25-minute speech or 45-minute speech. So 5 to 7 minutes, you have to put in a lot. You have to put in your life. You have to put in a lot along with that, and your experience as well. So it's not an easy thing to do a 5 to 7 minute speech. So let's structure this speech. You have to limit the words of what you say. You can't have lots of words in it. So usually in a 5 to 7 minutes, how many words, Jem, would you use? 400. 600. Okay. So it's usually 100 to 150 minutes per minute, 150 words per minute. So it comes to about 700 to 800. So somebody who speaks fast, MG does speak fast, she can put in 900, 800 and 900 words. Somebody who's much slower, like DTM there, did it pretty slow. He'd probably do 900 words or 90 words a minute. So that's about it. So structure your speech to bring it to 700 words only. You want to say a lot, don't say a lot. It's not going to help anybody. So just bring it to there. So short sentences, like overall, I would recommend short sentences. There's a very example DTM used, if you follow DTM Nataraj's speech, he used very short sentence. It could be a single word sentence like water. He just used water, water, water. They were 3 sentences, but they had huge impact. I'll come to your speech as well. Some very short, lovely sentences, but I'll refer it to later. But the shorter your sentences, the better it is. So if I have to introduce myself, I'm Alexander Tharayan. I grew up in India and spent a couple of years in the US and 2 years in Germany, and then back to UAE for some time. It's a long sentence, but I can cut it down. I grew up in beautiful India, 4 years in the United States, a year in Germany, and then back to this. So each one is broken up. It's a better impact. That's known as speaking in cadences. And that's what most great speakers do that, right? So short sentences. What's the overall structure of the speech? I mean, we all Toastmasters.
The start. Opening.
Yeah, strong opening, body, strong closing. Okay, so we're not going to go there. That's understood, right? So let's move ahead. This one. Okay, your international speech or my international speech, every speech that you come here for, every project has to have a personal story. If you don't have a personal story, it is just an informative speech. for example, if you want to say, talk about, visiting a country, that is informative. But if you want to talk about your experience in that country, it's possibly a personal story. So MJ's story, which she reached right up to the area, was about climbing to the base camp of Annapurna. It was she herself climbing it. She spoke in the first person. You have to say, I went there, I did this, and so forth. So it has to be a very personalized story. You've got to have actors in it. MJ had herself, her guide, she had the mountain itself, so we could imagine those characters should be described in a nice way and brought to life. So it's very, very important to have the main characters, first person and conversations. So every speech, if you want to excite the audience, there should be a conversation between somebody, otherwise it will look very narrative. So she had a conversation between herself and her guide, who told her that take one step at a time, one step, so that the one step sort of resonated, that conversation. If it's between you and your son, you should be talking to your son, today is the day that we go for a picnic. Dad, why today? So, that conversation has to come through for definitely. But how far must you go in your international speech is very, think carefully. You can't take your childhood trauma and solve it in a 5 to 7 minute speech. Careful about that. Your speech should be more closer. This is my view completely. People may have other success stories. If I'm going to talk about an international speech, it should be within the last 10 years that you should have your sort of experience you want to explain to the audience or bring it to life. If you are able to look at a trauma really far in your childhood, you better put humor into it, because at the age of 40, you might have got over it, and your vision of that is less painful by then. So in order to select your story very carefully, and don't select a story that's too painful, because you'll take the audience deep down and you'll not take them out. We'll all be in tears. So you have to bring them back again with something. So don't take it too painful, because you've got to ensure that you don't collapse in the whole process on stage as well. So that's part of the personal story, but you must have a personal story, and you must make it, you should be the center of it. Story should have a message. The speech should have a message. No message, no speech, just a story. So what percentage of your speech should have the story? For example, about 60%, 65%, but not beyond that. And after that, you should have a message. Think hard on that message, because if there's no clear message coming through, it'll be very difficult for you to, appeal to the audience. And that message possibly could be short, but not too short. The international speaker had just nod. I don't know if that was really a message, but he won, but that was it. But you should have it slightly more, expanded. Nike's Just Do It. What can you think of a smaller, shorter message that, something that, climb every mountain or enjoy yours was more like enjoy the journey rather than the goal, so that small steps, and that ultimately became small steps and so forth. But something that you can put to 5 to 7 words, you have to put it. And it's a struggle for most speakers to do it, but that's why think hard to get that sorted before you really embark on completing the whole speech itself. The practical side of it, you can have the story, you can have some sort of a message, but you may not really crystallize it, but doesn't matter. As you go through the practicing it, you will get that message. But be sure that you do get it, because that's what's going to appeal to the audience, right? You've got to explain the message. Now you've got the story, but you've got the message. You have to spend at least a minute explaining it. But remember, it is not a scientific explanation. It may not be completely logical. It's not maths. It's not a plus b whole squared is equal to a squared plus b squared plus 2ab. It's not going to be that. It has to be a little bit poetic, a little bit emotional. That's the only way that you can get it together, right? So poetry, I refer to Madam there, she said, sitting in the toilet, time is infinite. That's not logical, but it's poetry. So you get the message across. She didn't say it takes 5 hours to do it or 40 hours to be in the toilet. It's time is infinite. You have to bring that poetry because it's a 5 to 7 minute speech. You possibly can't do anything else. You're actually appealing to everybody's, emotions at that time. You've got to give that explanation. The why. Why is the message so important to you? That's very important. It's not going to be a generic message. It's why is it for you? The fact that you wanted to see you had those small steps and enjoy your way to the goal, but you didn't achieve your goal, you didn't see the mountain. That is appealing to you. But in addition to appealing to you in your story, this is very carefully listen, it has to appeal to you in your real life. So you have to bring that, what is it to you? So today I'm looking for a job and it's never ending, but still I enjoyed that journey because I met different characters and different mentors. So that then you explain that story not as an anecdote, but in your real life what it is. That explanation is absolutely essential. So this is the toughest part. Most people don't do the explanation, just give a message and they move on. This is another one which is absolutely essential to call to action and how it appeals to the audience. Now you're saying it is your message, just do it, or small steps, or you achieve your goal. What is it to us? We're a bunch of Toastmasters. We want to be inspired even in a 2-minute speech. At the time of the contest, judges need to be inspired. All of us needs to be inspired. What is it to us? So you've got to look at the audience. So have a very logical look at the audience. In Dubai, they'll be all about 40, and they'll be a lot of subcontinent people, a lot of parents, a lot of spouses, husbands and wives. So what is it to them? It could be job, it could be the child issue, it could be anything, marital problems. It could be. So what is it to the audience? You have to explain to them and then ask them to follow your message. So that's very critical. That's absolutely. If you don't do that, you've missed out on the whole audience itself. So that's the rest of us is absolutely essential. So your speech progresses. You've given your story, you've given your message, you've given your message explanation, you've called to action. You have to bring the story back. You have to say once again, what happened in the end. In this case, it's a little subtle, but you have to bring, in your case, which you said yourself and your guide, you have to bring the guide back in some way. Say the guide said to take small steps. Those small steps are relevant now. You have to bring this message back, and finally you've got the story back, and you've got to bring the message back again to conclude. This is the message, because you've told the audience, you've explained it to the audience, now you're reiterating it to the audience. That's the final, before you say, I'm off to the contest chair, you've got to say that again. So that's essential, very, very essential. You can have frills to the whole thing. So what I covered earlier was the entire speech structure, what a speech bare minimum that you should have. You could have frills if you want, but if you don't want the frills, you possibly, may not be in the top 3, but you'll do a great speech. But you've got to have these frills, have humor, have props, have quotes, and use of stage, using the stage, in different, parts of the stage, starting from the middle, going this way, that way. Some people jump around the stages. But I always call that the frills, because I expect people to have the structure which I said earlier. That's most important. But you can have these frills. But quick reminder of what constitutes, what will help you. Review your judging sheet. The international contest has a judging sheet. Do review that, look at that, what are the contents of it. Get a mentor if possible. I mean, mentors will give you a different perspective. I've seen for sure that getting mentored is difficult both for the mentor and the mentee, because the mentees prepare the speech and changes to it is not really, they don't really like it, so the mentor has to put it across very nicely. I remember I mentored somebody in the area contest several years ago, and I told him to change one sentence where his mother would look slightly less, wonderful as he had painted her. He just refused. He said, that's never going to be the case. I said, I'm not saying anything major. I just said, your mother is an angel, but just say these X words to make her more human. He just refused. So that mentee-mentee relationship is sometimes can hurt either side. Your mentee doesn't listen to you, but be open to mentorship if you want to change your, make your speech better. Watch recordings of winners. Rehearse in private or public, that's a choice. A lot of competitive people don't practice in public, they just do it I can tell you in the district, a lot of them, we don't even know their winning speeches till they actually come to the contest. So, if you want to hide your speech, that's all acceptable. It's competition in the end. Speak from the heart. I've heard that so many times. What does it really mean?
Be convinced with your own story.
Believe in what you are saying.
Yeah, I feel the heart can't speak. It's not a Shah Rukh Khan Kajol movie that look into the eyes and your audience has to have words. Speak in the heart is yes, but you have to put it in words. There is nothing else. I can't convey the message telepathically to you. I can't get it across. I have to put it in words to get it to you or someone. So absolutely essential. Speak from the heart is great, but unless you have words, you won't get across. Will you be an international speech winner? It's not as easy as closing your eyes and getting it. There are a lot of factors, great speech writing, practice, mentor, but you could have 3 people in the club who are excellent and you'll be dropped out. You could have another set in the area, another set in the district. It is a chance, but you should take the chance for sure. That's essential, but it is a chance, so you could, in my view, the best of speakers would take about 5 chances, the best, to reach the international stage. So it's not being pessimistic, it's being realistic. It will just ensure that you write and practice your speech better. To be on the international stage, at least 5 attempts right from day 1 to reaching there. And that too with your mentors, with training, with rigorous training. So take that chance for sure. Okay, summary. Script the speech. That's the toughest. Script it, but if you don't script it, it's not there. Personal story, essential. Message, mentor, these are absolute essential. And it's just words. You've got to structure your speech with the right words. If you don't have words, there's no speech. That's for sure. So I could take a few questions.
With the AI now, the script will be there and with the some dramatic action. So how you can be different or look genuine?
Yeah, I think AI is a great tool for various stuff. There's no doubt about it. But the speech itself, I think you should write yourself. You could refer to AI for quotes or to restructure a particular sentence. But if it's not your own, you possibly won't live it. That's essentially the same. And that's why the story is your own. You can't, so I think at the division level, we judged somebody who spoke about his sister dying, commit suicide, and it was not his real story. God, I mean, we came to know later, there's no way to disqualify him, but it was such a cheat, I thought. Everybody came to know afterwards that was not his, that was a made-up story. So your story has to be your own. AI, correct sentence, a bit of grammar, some quotes. Yeah, you could use AI. Yes, ma'am.
But I think if you use AI to improve your speech, even if you write the speech yourself, if you use AI to improve it and restructure it for you, it's not going to sound like you.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. No, if you want the grammar in some sentences incorrect, and or you want to add a different word or something, it's okay. I mean, but exactly what Heather said, it just destroys. It makes it maybe more beautiful writing, but that's not you. And then you'll have to really internalize it in some form, and that's like stage acting. It's not yours.
Some people are good on making the story. Like it cannot be only a personalized. The way you mentioned one of them has made up a story. and it felt real, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So is it still advisable to have the personal story? Like, if someone can bluff on and make a better story than actually giving the personal story, what is advisable?
No, I would say it has to be your own story. You could exaggerate a little bit here and there, but that's fine. It has to be your story. Then only you'll get your message across genuinely. Otherwise, you'll be some kind of an actor. I mean, I don't think we are that.
There are people who can literally make us stories in
Yes.
which feels real to us.
Yes, but the winning speech, he'll get caught somewhere. The way it is, I mean, we won't know. I mean, he won't be able to get the emotions out. And they'll come. No, he had asked.
That is related to what he
Okay.
was asking, so you can take
Sure,
it
sure, sure.
together. Like, how does it matter whether it's your personal story or not? Story is end of the day. Like, if you're able
Yeah.
to convince your audience, isn't it like that? So something similar on that same note. Like,
But what is RISE? RISE?
sorry.
What is RISE? RISE?
That is there.
No,
but
so
then
let us live that. The integrity part of it. So yeah, I mean, I get your point, but in the end, I totally believe it has to be your own story. And that's the winning story, for sure. Whoever's won has had their original own story. They may have exaggerated a little bit here and there. Maybe they fell down and they say they broke 2 bones instead of 1. That's fine.
I'm sorry
Yes.
if I'm taking more time.
No, I need to take his question.
The relevance of props. I mean, how do you decide what's a relevant prop? What actually takes away from the story?
So the prop itself it could be related to the speech, but I've seen props unrelated. You've seen Katani use cigarettes, which was a great prop related to it. So it has to be closely related to it, I would say. But prop for the sake of prop, I wouldn't advise. Okay, there is in the judging sheet, have they used prop is there. One of the criteria, forget it. If your story does not entail you to have a prop, it's fine. But sometimes props can be distractive, distracting. So because, if MJ's speech of climbing the mountain, did you use the skis, the holding and all? No, it was only the backpack. So if you held this and this, we are looking at everything but the speech. Yeah? Yeah.
I think regarding the structure which you mentioned, opening, body, and conclusion, in the opening, a lot of people have heard in the past that there's a hook which
Yeah,
supposed to have.
True.
Is there any advice or comment on that?
Hook is good to make it very exciting in the beginning, but more important is your story and the message explanation. That is the critical. Hook, we can do it like Muhammad Katani did and so forth. But if it's not followed by the great story that he gave, I wouldn't recommend it. So it's rather to have that story captivating and a message come through. And obviously along with the message, which I didn't cover, but it comes as a tagline in between, but that's really going to the next level. So, if you repeat the message at least thrice during the speech, but in a nice way. And the last one, of course, you repeat it. So there's a technique for that, but get the message right first. Okay.
International speech, is it recommending something like humorous? If I'm not wrong, last year the Toastmasters other speech was something like humorous, if I'm not wrong.
I thought she was in the humor category? No.
No. In the international speech.
Last year. Yeah.
I think she
Humor
went
was
for
there.
international.
Yeah.
The speech was kind of
I started, and this is actually a problem I have a lot of the time, is I'll have a speech that's almost funny enough for a humorous speech, but not quite, but not serious enough for an international
Yeah,
speech.
yeah.
So I started out with it as a humorous speech, and everybody said, oh, that was great, but you should make that into an international speech. And then I made it into an international speech, and people said, well, that was just too funny.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Yeah, you need to find my category.
yeah. So the lesson in that, Heather, is that any speech that has a clear message can be an international speech. Humor speech doesn't require a message as such. You can have a message, but everybody feels a little low after that. But the message should be international. If you infuse it with humor, which is the trend now with everybody, no one wants to have a sad speech come up. Everybody wants, even the lady who won the time before, she had a heart attack or a stroke, and then she won at the international level. But she made so much fun about the whole thing, about the paramedics coming and the paramedic being a good-looking guy and whatever else, the humor was infused in the whole thing. But in the end, her message was that, help come from the least likely sources, and to look out for that,
But what you said before about bringing the audience back up, because I've seen people give international speeches at contests, and they bring you down, like it's just a big
sad story. Oh,
and nothing to bring you back at the end and make you feel
right.
hope or
Yeah.
motivation or so.
So absolutely, that's what. So I went to Tampa. No, was it Orlando for that speech which Sam went, and I heard it. In one of the runners-up, not the runners, one of the first rounds was a woman who talked about rape. It was so painful, and there was no way she could, after the whole incident she narrated, there was no way she could bring the audience back. Everybody sympathized, but it was not a winning speech. So it was very difficult to pull the audience back from that terrible time that she went to, and so forth. So careful about, that's why childhood trauma, careful. Too traumatic, you can't bring it to speech. It'll kill you as well. Forget about the audience, because you're reliving the whole thing. Oh, last question before I...
So I've seen you greatly evaluate a lot of speeches. In a hypothetical scenario, what if the contenders are on par in terms of all the aspects of marketing? How would the judges define that one person who's winning?
Yeah, so in the judging sheet, it's very unlikely that everybody gets the same points, right? Statistically, I've not seen it. In very rare cases, two people are tied, and the tie is done by another tiebreaker judge who ranks them. So you ranked suppose there are 10 speakers, 10 speakers, all of them are ranked by the tiebreaker judge. So if you and he are tied, but the tiebreaker judge has given you in the rank, you before him, you're the winner. So Toastmasters has a way to remove the doubt.
It only happens in a situation, unique situation.
Yeah, there's a tiebreak.
Not general practice.
Yeah, but there's always a tiebreaker judge to rank everybody. He has to rank it. If it's one or two, he has to take whichever one. He or she has to rank. So it's very perfectly correct. There's a way to get around the whole thing. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, no, it's in judge. Okay, so don't forget this. Script the speech. That's for even your 5 to 7 minutes. Script it. The toughest thing, personal story is a must. Even if it's leadership or anything, personal story is a must, because we are not in a management school. We are looking at, the audience is looking at your view of it. So you should have a story around it. And a message, mentor, remember it's only words. You have no other way to convey your message or your story account. So it has to be words and sentences. Over to you.
Thanks for DTM.